The general strike and protests in Minnesota exceeded all expectations, and that general strike and those protests are spreading across the United States. We're seeing it now happen in other cities. We know the media is suppressing this, so we need to get this message out. You saw right there the protesters in Minneapolis. Now, the organizers estimated there would be approximately 50,000 people showing up to protest, which would be such an incredibly high number, especially considering it was like negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. But when I've been speaking to some of these organizers, they tell me that it could have been as many as 80,000 to 100,000 people peacefully protesting while this general strike was taking place, and businesses were shut down in Minnesota from Minneapolis to St. Paul. And we look eastward towards New York, where there was that powerful strike underway with the nurses in New York City. 15,000 striking nurses there, supported by the New York City mayor, I might add, Zoran Mamdani. Great to see that support from leadership, and we'd expect nothing less from Mayor Mamdani. And folks, I expect this general strike to start to spread across the country and these protests to continue across the country. Let's take a look at just some of the other images of this incredible peaceful protest that took place in Minneapolis. You see it right here. Here is another overhead image brought to you by a more perfect union right here. This is what people power looks like, and Americans are fed up. We were fed up before, but it's reached a fever pitch in the chilly negative 20 degree Fahrenheit weather in Minnesota. We're learning more stories about ICE abducting 5-year-olds. We talked about the story of Liam abducting 2-year-olds who were abducted after ICE agents deployed toxic, carcinogenic gas weapons at this 2-year-old and her family, also sending them to concentration camps in El Paso. There's more videos of ICE agents from Minneapolis to Portland, Maine on the East Coast, right, where the ICE agents are telling people who are peacefully protesting, well, we're now entering your face into a database because you're protesting us. You're now deemed a domestic terrorist by the regime. I'll show you that clip in a moment. You may have seen it elsewhere. But while all of this is taking place, what is Donald Trump and his dastardly regime do? What's Donald Trump posting today as the American people are fed up, as people can't afford homes, as people can't afford groceries, as people are having their health care ripped away from them, as people aren't able to access education, they can't access child care, as people are struggling, psychologically tortured, living paycheck to paycheck if they're lucky enough to get a paycheck. Donald Trump was posting images all day of golden arches that he wants to build in Washington, D.C., Arc de Trump memorials to himself, golden arches, golden ballrooms, and IndyCar racetracks. Donald Trump kept on sharing AI-generated videos showing an IndyCar race surrounding the Capitol building, and then his cabinet started chiming in, like Secretary Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, goes, "What's more American than a race around our nation's capital? Freedom. Democrats, start your engines and let's get this over the finish line," talking about bringing Indy 500 and UFC fights to Washington, D.C., while they have a budget for ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo. What did they spend over the past, how many years? Hundreds of billions of dollars, and now they want billions of dollars more. It is absolutely despicable for any Democrat, for any person to support more money going to this terrorist organization that is ICE and that is the Border Patrol, Gestapo. In addition to posting IndyCar racing in Washington, D.C., you also have a Trump communications director lewdly posting that a Democratic influence, Harry Sisson, might enjoy being spanked by him. This is Stephen Chung right here, and he said that Harry Sisson, who's, I don't know how old Harry is, 22, 23 at this point, and Stephen Chung said he may like to get spanked by me. What is wrong with these deranged and sick individuals? Sarah Matthews, who used to work for the first Trump administration, posted this meme of a lady with her daughter saying, "Trump, Independence Arch." And then you see another daughter drowning. Millions of Americans struggling under Donald Trump's economy. Folks, these peaceful protests were so large that even state regime media, which calls itself Fox News, couldn't deny the size and scale. Here's state regime media saying, well, at the end of the day, there's really a lot of people in Minneapolis, despite how cold it is. This is what they were saying on state regime. Here, play this clip.
So let's go back to another very, very cold place, but that is not stopping Minneapolis from turning out in huge numbers, in the thousands, we're told, into the streets where it is 10 below this hour.
I don't envy your job right now.
Now, one of the things that we were also learning, and this was reported on CNN as well, is that Department of Homeland Security officials do not want FEMA and other emergency services within the federal government to refer to the conditions, the deadly conditions that are taking over the East Coast right now, as being ice, or as having ice factors. Instead, they want to refer to ice as freezing rain because they think that people will use their words to refer to ice storms as memes to attack the ICE and Border Patrol. Let's listen to this. Here, play this clip.
You also have some interesting reporting on guidance that FEMA was given about messaging for the storm.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. So I've learned that Homeland Security officials have come to FEMA staff and told them to limit the use of the word ICE in their public messaging and social media posts when talking about the storm. The concern is obviously the connection between the immigration enforcement that's happening across the country, particularly in Minnesota. And what they are worried about here is that by posting something like "watch out for the ice," that it's going to become an opportunity for a meme, for internet fodder, for public ridicule against the Department of Homeland Security. So they're asking FEMA staff, if you can, don't use the word ice, try to use the term freezing rain. But part of the problem here, as I talk to agency officials about this, is they're saying what we're talking about is ice. And what we're talking about is saving lives.
Yeah, no, when you say freezing rain, that makes me think, oh, I'll put on a raincoat. It doesn't make me think ice.
Right. And what we're largely talking about, and I'm not a forecaster, but this is largely an ice event. And a lot of states that I've talked to are saying what we're preparing for is destructive ice that could damage power grids, cut power to a lot of homes and wreak havoc on roads. And it is pretty remarkable that Homeland Security is saying, please try to avoid using that word.
Because they're afraid of memes. Meanwhile, lives are on the line. Another incredibly idiotic story. Thanks so much.
And Jessica Tarlov, we love Jessica Tarlov on the MeidasTouch Network, the only good reporter at Fox. She stated the facts of Donald Trump's completely disastrous polling numbers, and she let all the other people on the panel know the truth. Great work, Jessica Tarlov. Let's play this clip.
New York Times Santa poll was so bad for him that he's suing the New York Times. Lowest approval rating, -17 immigration, -18 on the economy, -19 on foreign relations, -29 on cost of living. And for those of you that care about the Epstein files, which is a lot of people, -44. The coalition from 2020 is back intact. So young voters, Black voters, Latino voters, back to usual levels of support for the Democratic Party. And J.D. Vance's speechwriter, I think, hates him because he was talking about the economy. And he had this line, "You don't turn the Titanic around overnight." But we all know what happened to the Titanic.
Oof.
Oof.
You do.
Sick burn.
Also, the Trump regime was posting photos today of Donald Trump with a penguin and a penguin's AI image, and the AI image of the penguin was holding an American flag, and you see a Greenlandic flag as well, except there are no penguins in Greenland. All penguins live in the southern hemisphere except one species in the Galapagos Islands, as Patriot Takes points out. Perhaps you shouldn't have dismantled the Department of Education so quickly when you're making these posts about Greenland. Maybe you just need to know a few things like there's no penguins there. This is just the idiocracy combined with the depravity and the dangerousness of this regime. Rod Stewart, by the way, chimed in about Donald Trump being a draft dodger. And, you know, Donald Trump attacked the service of our NATO allies, UK, Denmark, France, Canada, others who provided troops to fight alongside the United States in Afghanistan. And Trump said, no one really fought with the United States in Afghanistan. They pretended to be on the front lines. It's basically Trump calling the troops of UK, Denmark, and others suckers and losers. But we know that that's who Donald Trump is, a 5-time draft dodger, a coward himself, someone who has zero respect for service. Take it away, Rod Stewart. Play this clip.
I have great respect for our armed forces that fought and gave us our freedom. So it hurts me badly, deeply, when I read that the draft dodger Trump has criticized our troops in Afghanistan for not being on the front line. We lost over 400 of our guys. Think of their parents. Think about it. And Trump calls them almost like cowards. It's unbearable. So I'm calling on you, Prime Minister Starmer and Farage, please make the draft dodger Trump apologize. Please.
But according to Stephen Miller, Donald Trump's Goebbels, or whatever you want to call him, again, I'm just giving my opinion, right? I give my First Amendment speech opinion. This is all opinion speech. Stephen Miller, by the way, says that what you saw in Davos, Switzerland, it was a masterclass in diplomacy. This is how you do diplomacy. This is how you do diplomacy. Donald Trump shamed the United States. The rest of the world is horrified. Putin's the only one who's laughing as he's meeting Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff today that the NATO bond has been so severed by Donald Trump's utter depravity and incompetence. But here's what Stephen Miller said. Play this clip.
Well, you saw a masterclass, a true, amazing masterclass in diplomacy, statesmanship, leadership in Davos this week with President Trump. First, to your point, his critique of Europe in his Davos speech was one of the most important statements any American president has made about that continent in memory. Europe has...
Oh, and then we heard from Nikema Armstrong, the leader of the protests at the church in St. Paul. Donald Trump had her arrested, then did AI memes of her crying, manipulating her face, making her skin look blacker as well, and making her cry. Just complete judicial impropriety by the Trump regime to do that. We heard Nikema speak. Let's play this clip.
So we followed all of the steps, but they treated this as if I was a fugitive on the run, that I had committed murder. And they're doing all this, putting all these resources into tracking down one Black woman when they will put zero resources into holding Jonathan Ross accountable, the ICE agent who killed Renee Good. Let's not forget that fact. He's still roaming around free.
Should also be noted, too, that today the Trump regime posted this photo while they're covering up the Epstein files. Trump signs the Trafficking Survivors Relief Act into law to help victims of human trafficking reclaim their lives. By the way, Donald Trump did not do a signing ceremony in public because he wanted to avoid questions about his cover-up of a child sex trafficking ring. I mean, Trump is covering up child sex trafficking right now. He is a pedo protector right now. Undisputed fact that he is, because in my opinion, that's what you get when you cover up the Epstein files, the way he and Pam Bondi and his despicable DOJ are. And by the way, that bill was sitting on his desk to be signed into law for the past 10, 11 days, and he's been doing nothing about it at all. I want to leave you with this as well, though. I'll do a whole other video on Trump's Epstein cover-up. But take a look at this. This is agents in Maine photographed a civilian's face and name and said, this was a protester, and said, we are now putting you in a database because we're treating you as a domestic terrorist. Here, play this clip right here.
What you guys are doing here? Yeah. Look at them. Look at them. The ICC guys, be careful. Be careful. They're over here.
It's not illegal to record.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little dadatabase.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
That's what ICE is. That's what the Border Patrol Gestapo is. It's so utterly despicable. Everybody hit subscribe. Help us get to 6 million. We gratefully appreciate your support. Thank you all so much.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.